Um, 13 months ago, I gave birth to Mila at home in the birthing pool. Excuse me. No. I've been spending a lot of time this week revisiting, so it's interesting, this emotion surging up. Thanks. Oh. Yeah, first I wanted to talk about why I wanted to have a natural home birth, and I felt really strongly from the moment I conceived that I wanted an empowering experience. And what I'd seen with friends and my sister was how they lost the courage of their convictions once they started working with gynaes, or those were the experiences they had. They started out with very strong ideas about what they wanted, and slowly the fear crept in, and I guess they needed to feel safe, so they dropped a lot of what they thought was important to them, and as a result ended up feeling quite disempowered. A lot of choices were removed from them on that path. So I really wanted that for myself. I'd seen some amazing birth movies, videos, I'd listened to some talks, so I'd seen what was possible if one was able to trust the process. So yeah, I was very lucky to connect with some amazing midwives in Cape Town that hold that empowerment principle and that are brave enough to hold women through that. What really helped my mom and my family and I guess friends close to me was the contingency plans in place, so I never felt that there was a risk involved. My midwife explained that birth has a very natural rhythm, and that if something was going wrong, that there would be enough time to get to a hospital. And we were registered at Mowbray Maternity. I had another hospital just around the corner in case, but it wasn't a fear thing that made me think about that. But I was glad those things were in place, because my mom only told me afterwards how worried she was. Luckily, she didn't share her fears with me. And then my partner also had quite a difficult background. They had had a premature baby with a previous partner, and they'd ended up losing the baby. So I was concerned that he wouldn't be behind the natural birth. But actually his bad experience happened with the best medical care, supposedly in hospital. So I guess a part of him felt like maybe it wasn't so bad to be at home. We did do a fair amount of preparation. We did an antenatal weekend that I think gave us wonderful tools to draw from. I also did pregnancy Kundalini yoga, which I thought would be really helpful. Yeah, and I think to work through the fears, to bring awareness to them and process them and look at what is real and what is not. So that was very helpful to me. So our birth started around about midnight, gently, slowly increasing in intensity. I was in communication with my midwife whenever I needed reassurance or just to get clear on what was happening. She was available. It started getting really intense around 8 or 9 in the morning. I started feeling rather overwhelmed and emotional. That was when I knew I needed my midwife to come, which she did. Yeah, I think I had thought that breath would be the tool to get me through. I really enjoyed the Kundalini breathing, but I think it was round about 10 o'clock where breath went out the window that wasn't touching sides, and I discovered sound, which started very mellow and gently and ended with the neighbor coming around to check that everything was okay because I was making so much noise. but it felt amazing just to let rip, and it felt really primal and raw, and I didn't feel embarrassed, or it just felt that primal state of being able to communicate exactly what you want without worrying about what people think or couching it in a gentle phrase, as women so often do, was really amazing. I had thought and hoped that this birth would be a major bonding experience for me and my partner. That was an intention that I had. I thought it would bring us really close, and that we'd be... I'd seen one birth video where the husband was right there with the birthing mother, and I thought that we would have that experience. But even though he was wonderful in his service role, there was that moment when I really needed to draw strength from somewhere. And I called John and I looked into his eyes, and I just saw this concern and this worry about me and whether I was okay. And I just pushed him aside and I reached for my midwife, and I just looked in her eyes and I just knew. She said very little. You know, we discussed before the birth that I wanted least intervention possible. So she was very much in the background. But at that moment, she stepped up, and with very few words and just a look in her eyes and a grip in her hand, I knew that everything was fine. It was just, I see it as such a gift to be allowed and trusted to do this job that I just feel women can do. I feel so gifted to have had that experience, and something that I just wish for all women. So, yeah, we had, I suppose, quite an easy birth. After 2 very intense hours, Mila arrived. We were in the water, which was wonderful for me. I had lots of space to move my body. I used every position available. There was space for John to massage me if I needed, or yeah, whatever was needed. The water was lovely and hot. It felt like it couldn't be hot enough, and that really soothed the pain. So after 2 hours, she arrived. There was a moment where I thought, this is impossible. I'd been told that this happens at the moment of birth, but I don't think anything can really prepare you. I just felt absolute shock at the sensation that I knew I had to push through, and I just thought, there's no way, how are we getting this baby out? And then she was suddenly there, and the cord was around her neck. Ruth just unlooped that. John and Mila and I sat in the birthing pool together in wonderment. There was a moment where Ruth saw that Mila wasn't breathing, and she acted really swiftly, put her mouth on Mila's, sucked out a little bit of mucus that was blocking the airway. And I was in such shock, I didn't even have time to be worried, and before I knew it, Mila was back in my arms, and we were all fine. So after a few moments there, Ruth relocated us to my couch. We decided to delay the cord cutting, so it was me, Mila, and the placenta moved to the couch, and my midwife placed Mila on my belly. And then we sort of watched her flap her little head, like her little nose was looking which direction to go in, and her little feet were pushing against my thighs to push up my body. Awareness of time was not really something we thought about, but I suppose it was 5 to 10 minutes that it took her to find the breast. And it was quite hard to watch, because this instinct to help and do it for her was very strong. But encouraged by my midwife, we trusted it, we went with it, and she did get there. And it was the most beautiful thing, just to see the intelligence of that innocent newborn. And it's something I refer to often in my role as a parent and facilitator for her life, is trying to bring that allowing energy, to allow her time to figure things out for herself. And I hope I can carry that through in my parenting, because that will bring an empowered being into this world, and I want that for her. So yeah, we I was then settled in my own bed, had a bath in my own bath, was settled in my own bed by the midwife. She popped in over the next couple of weeks. She seemed to know exactly when I would need some advice or some encouragement. A very beautiful experience. I think summed up by the word empowerment. I feel more whole, more in touch with all aspects of being a woman from that experience, and very blessed for the guidance that was at hand. I thank you.